Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Kitchen Review. This is a series where we talk about some of the most interesting kitchen equipments you can get today in the market. Today we are checking out the Philips all-in-one multi-cooker, a rival to the now famous Instant Pot that you've been seeing dominating the entire market. So the key question remains, can this mimic and perform as well as the Instant Pot? Is it good? Should you buy it? We'll cover all of that in today's video. So I got my Philips all-in-one cooker set online, and it came with obviously the 6-liter cooker. It comes with a detachable lid, a non-stick pot, a stainless steel pot. It came for free actually. It comes with a steamer basket, a scoop of salt with a bit of perforation right here, and also a ladle of salt as well. It also comes with a rice measuring cup, and most importantly, a all-in-one multi-cooker cookbook. The multi-cooker boasts a series of cooking features from searing to slow cooking to stewing to pressure cooking, soup functions, steaming function, as well as a yogurt making function. And if you look at the price of 445 ringgit, that really isn't all that bad. Now the cooker device actually heats up with a single heating element right at the bottom right there. Now the lid also comes with a detachable gasket that is designed for pressure cooking purposes. There's also a pressure releasing valve as well. Now when it comes to pot choices, you have a stainless steel version and also a non-stick version. The stainless steel ones are great for things that you want a bit of browning. For example, if let's say you're making a stew and you want to brown the meat, this is fantastic. I personally love the non-stick variant for things like stir-fried rice or noodles when I want to use very little oil for health reasons as well. Now you can also see from the cooker itself that there's a whole list of buttons over here, and depending on your cooking intention of choice, you will click and select the various button as per necessary as well. So we've been doing practical tests with the multi-cooker for over a month of daily cooking. I pressure cook stocks, I pasteurize and sterilize food and ingredients inside here. I've made soups, laksa, stir-fried rice, stir-fried noodles, curries of sort, dal, and they all turned out pretty great. And I think one of the best things about this setup is the fact cleaning is all isolated within the pot itself, and all you gotta do is just really wipe the peripherals of it. Now the lid and its respective parts can come off, as I've mentioned earlier off. They're fairly easy to clean. You can just remove the rubber gasket just like that, wash it, let it dry, and reassemble it. If you've been doing some pressure cooking and you want to clean off some of the food gunk that got trapped in the valve over here, you can unscrew this part with a wrench and get this entire section detached to clean it up, which is pretty okay, albeit not the most obvious when you are starting to get used to this machinery. Which gets me started to the downside of the product itself. So the setup obviously looks pretty simple, but the fact that this piece over here, it wasn't the most obvious that I could actually pull this entire thing out. Some form of mechanism to allow me to put it out really easily without digging my finger through would have been better. And the fact that you have to use a wrench to detach the entire pressure valve to clean it up is a little bit annoying when compared to traditional pressure cookers. And given the fact that some pressure cookers these days have really simple, streamlined ways of cleaning the device itself. Now the general design of the multi-cooker is pretty much alright. However, the one major concern I have about this setup is the fact that there really isn't a proper lid, except for this piece over here, to lift up the cooking pot in question. And you can imagine when you're cooking something hot and you want to, let's say, swap out with another pot, for example, you gotta use either your hands or a clipper or a piece of cloth to kind of like finicky move your hands inside here to this little gap over here and lift it up and swap it out. It can be hot, it can be a little bit dangerous, so not the best innovation there. Now the presets and the buttons were really not easy to use. For many people inside my household without any guidance, getting used to this pressure cooker preset button array here was really a steep learning curve. You know, setting the cook time or selecting the right function and getting it started was really not the most straightforward and easy thing to do. Now, once you've gotten used to some of the buttons and functionalities, the presets seems alright, but when you actually get to using them, they don't come off as the most reliable. So the preset button doesn't actually bring you to the preset option menu, it actually brings you to a time setting menu actually, and the preset actually falls under the pressure cooker button in question. Now it's also really weird that when you go through some of the presets, and as the name suggests, it's categorized under the pressure cooking function, it will show up lights that it's either maintaining pressure or keeping pressure or building pressure, but in a lot of actualities like steaming or maybe in a risotto function or some other function of that sort, there really isn't actually any pressure being built. It's just a preset mechanism of how the cook status goes, and it's not the most obvious way of determining the stage of cooking that's actually happening inside the pot. Personally, it would have been great if they could identify maybe a temperature setting or a pressure setting if it was on or if it was off. Now, the one thing I absolutely hate the most about this multi-cooker, under the pressure cooking function, under the manual preset, you cannot, and I repeat, you cannot set more than 59 minutes of pressure cooking time, which means to say that if you try and set more than 59 minutes, 1 hour, 2 hours of a cook time for a pressure cooking setup, the machine will actually not cook and start even though you press the start button. It doesn't indicate to you that it can't start, it just sits there idly and says F you. Now that took me forever to realize. I tried making a pressure cook stop one day and I just left it there for 2 hours and nothing actually happened at all, which you can imagine got me pretty pissed. So if you needed the machine to pressure cook an item for, let's say, more than an hour, you would have to come back in at every 59th minute and reset the pressure cooker for another 59 minutes or so, and you repeat the process on and on and on. As you can imagine, that's pretty annoying. Now, when it comes to temperature and temperature regulation, they're all pretty decent. The slow cooking function caps out at around 90 degrees Celsius, but do bear in mind that the high sear or high heat function caps out at around 165 degrees Celsius according to our tests, which is sufficient to have a bit of browning in the stainless steel pot, but don't expect a deep seared crust to make steak, for example. Not the most appropriate vessel in that sense. Now, the tools that came with the setup is pretty decent. Rice function and rice cooking is okay. The ladle and the spatula are all perfectly fine as well, although a bit small. If it was slightly longer, much better. That's what my girlfriend said too. The steamer basket works as its intention, but personally I really wouldn't steam in this multi-cooker, mainly because I can't see what's happening and the setting and functionalities of how fast and how vigorous the steam is relatively unknown to me, so I personally wouldn't use it too much. So last but not least, the recipe booklet in question. Now, it does cover a bit of understanding of how to use the machine, but if you ask me honestly, the recipes here are pretty useless. And so what do I think, and who is this multi-cooker for? So let's get this right out of the way. For the price, it's actually pretty decent. But is it top-notch? Does it rival against the Instant Pot with its majestic settings and great innovations of lid lifting without scalding your hands? No, it's not. But again, for half the price, it's really decent. Now, the other thing that I would also highlight is that if you are a beginner cook, I do think that this multi-cooker is pretty decent. For that matter, all multi-cookers are generally pretty good for beginner cooks. You only cook within the stipulated vicinity or in isolation when cooking, so cleanup's really easy. Functions are quite straightforward. Most multi-cookers won't go up to a certain temperature, so you don't have the high tendency of burning a certain food. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's highly unlikely that you burn something inside here. At the end of the day, when it comes to performance, pressure cooking, soups, stocks, stews and whatnot does pretty well. Again, if you can get over the horrible, confusing functionalities and preset buttons, it holds 6 liters, but if you want a larger version at 8 liters, there is an option to add 330 ringgit for that additional capacity. But let's be real, for you and me, for most people staying in a condo or an apartment, 6 liters is more than enough. Personally, for me, I'm still gonna keep this and I'm still gonna continue using it until I find a much better model. Again, like for the price to value ratio, not the best, but still pretty decent, and I'm pretty sure that's what Philips is banging on right now. So if you are planning to buy this, do let me know in the comments down below. Do you have something like this? Do you have this? Have you experienced the same issues that I have? I like to find out. We make kitchen equipment reviews periodically, and if you have a kitchen gear that you'd like us to review, please let us know in the comment section below. If you enjoyed the video, do consider liking the video, and if you like more content like this, do consider subscribing and sticking around. Until next time, bye. この鬼のノイだ強くですね。